Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Game 2 between sixjaxDDE and RevDoctor. This is for the last player standing StarCraft 2 Open number 2. My name is Kopo, and today we are watching sixjaxDDE spawning as the blue Terran on the right-hand side of this map, and RevDoctor, the red Terran, spawning at the left-hand spawning position. Map is GSL Dual Site. Definitely one of the maps in this rotation for this tournament. This tournament, again, is last player standing StarCraft 2 Open number 2. Check them out at lastplayerstanding.com. Lots of cool stuff over there. $500 does go to the winner of this tournament. It's attracted a multitude of big name players from Korea, as well as some American pros vying for that $500 first place prize. Anybody from Diamond through Grandmaster was able to register and these guys have actually successfully managed to put on a very nice tournament. From what I gather, there's been no complaints so far, and it has been well run. So this is actually exactly what we need to support esports, guys. If you want to continue to make esports bigger in the West, it's things like this that are able to help us achieve that goal. So we did see in Game 1, sixjaxDDE did manage to pull out the win after RevDoctor threw most of his Marine force away into a tank line. He was ahead in supply at that point, but that equalized the supplies and allowed DDE to gain an advantage in that situation. To this game, I guess we'll see if DDE manages to pull the 2-0 sweep, or if RevDoctor is able to pull it back and push it to a Game 3. We do see RevDoctor is putting down gas before barracks. It's usually indicative of some sort of heavy tech play. Definitely no gasless fast expand coming out of him. We see a simple barracks being built here. It looks like barracks refinery timing is standard by DDE. Nothing too special coming out here. Neither player appears to be gearing up for a big fast expansion. We'll see exactly if this refinery first play is going to lead to some sort of tech. I don't imagine it would do anything, but this refinery first is actually quite interesting. It didn't really pop up, from my knowledge, until decently recently. But it basically opens up a lot of options. Most Terrans would go 12 barracks, 13 refinery, and 15 orbital command, 16 marine kind of thing, and try and do the standard openings that way. Well, by getting refinery first, you do manage to stockpile a bit of gas, allowing you to drop a factory pretty much as soon as your barracks is finished, judging by this timing. We do see a couple marines queued up and being produced there by RevDoctor, who is morphing in orbital command. Both players are doing such, actually, because DDE is still going standard. Both players getting a full scout of each other's bases and seeing exactly what's going on. I guess DDE could have snuck by and saw exactly how much gas is left on this geyser to tell exactly when it went up, which would actually be a lot of information for him to have. Factory is going down for RevDoctor, so we will see some tech. Again, strategy of choice, but in TBT lately, thanks to MLG, seems to be the Blue Flame Hellions, which that refinery first does allow you to do. You see command center going down for DDE, so my thing of saying no fast expansion was obviously wrong. He is going 1 racks fast expand after a very standard open, obviously. This expansion is fairly easy to hold on dual site. There's a couple of entrances to it, but with a couple of well-placed bunkers and maybe a siege tank or two, you should be able to hold that very, very easily. Hellions are popping out here. We see a tech lab coming down in the barracks. I would not be surprised to see that switch with the factory and have Blue Flame begin. We do see a second refinery now being dropped and saturated for RevDoctor. Blue Flame Hellions. I'm going to keep repeating that because I do believe that's the way this is going. Factory now being dropped for DDE. No more racks are added to this yet. He does seem to be in a bit of a poor position to deal with early pressure, but he is walling up, something that Hellions are not a big fan of because Hellions have a really hard time breaking through walls. Although if he does manage to saturate that expansion, or if he actually lands that expansion at his natural, Hellions will be able to come in and roast any workers or mules that he decides to put down there. You see Blue Flame has started, so it is a Blue Flame Hellion opening. I'm not psychic, guys. I'm just good at what I do. Starport is being dropped for sixjaxDDE, who is apparently doing a 1-1-1 fast expansion opening. I do believe we're just seeing a tech lab built in the factory, probably switches the starport. Would not be surprised to see a fast Banshee opening here. Just by judging by the tech path, we are seeing another starport come up, this time for RevDoctor. Reactor being built on the barracks. Judging by this, I'd have to say Vikings or medvacs, although I don't see what the purpose of that would be. Maybe he'll leave that reactor on the barracks. It's really hard to tell. Terrans are have the ability to be very versatile with their add-ons. They can switch and swap between their unit-producing facilities, which actually leads to some very interesting games. So far, this orbital command is staying up in the base, not being used to mine the extra mineral patches, just being used to drop mules and train additional SCVs. You see the small Hellion Marine force coming out here, but they will be unable to get past this wall in. For the most part anyways, and these Marines should be able to hold them at bay. No bunker down yet, but I can't imagine that they would have too much problems, since Hellions essentially cannot ever kill a building, no matter how many of them there are or how strong they are. They will be getting there approximately about the same time Blue Flame finishes, so that is actually a well-timed push, pretty much going up the ramp at the exact second, but again they do almost no damage to buildings. The Marines can come in here and should be able to pick this off at will if DDE is paying attention, which does not appear he is, which is a shame. Marines are going to come up here and one additional Hellion. They're not apparently picking a target, they're just attacking random supply depots. This tank's out here and basically going to shut down this cute little harass. This should be repaired pretty easily, it's not a huge deal. And this Blue Flame Hellion harass, which RevDoctor did invest a lot of minerals and gas into, was essentially promptly shut down. You see a Raven coming out for RevDoctor, something you don't see in TVT very often, although according to certain commentators, and I'll let you see if you can figure out who those are, Ravens are the best unit in the game and should always be seen in every matchup. Yeah, they do have their place, but really it's tough to say they're needed in every situation, although I'd like to see maybe some nice auto turret harass, or maybe just be using for detection. You see another command center, or I guess a first command center being constructed for RevDoctor, who will likely take his natural with that. sixjaxDDE now just moving out with his own and able to secure that expansion with a tank at the bottom and a bunker being placed at the bottom of the ramp. Factory is moving over, allowing the starport to hop onto that reactor after it managed to build the Raven. A tech lab was needed only for the Raven, and then it was promptly given away to a building that I'm sure we'll see constructed in the future. Or maybe one of these ones that's just chilling over here. We are seeing a lot of building swapping going on. Maybe he can't decide what he wants to do, which is perfectly acceptable. The Vikings are made by DDE, who does appear to be going Marine Tank Viking. Like I said, this is the old way to play TVT. Nothing wrong with it, it just leads to long drawn-out tank wars. Vikings giving vision to the tanks, who again can shoot a little bit farther than they can see. And doing it that way, Blue Flame Hellions are going to chase down that one Hellion for DDE, who's using it for map control. I really just love these Zelnaga towers they have on this. I love the blue and red gateways that turn into warp gates. It's just really, it's a neat idea. I'm glad Blizzard's getting into the... no, I don't even think Blizzard made this map, actually. Well, somebody's getting into the aesthetics and doing it a very good job, so somebody should be commended for the visuals on this map. I do love them. I love them so. Forces by RevDoctor are well split and are gaining good map control. He does have control of this one Zelnaga tower, but a little small force of Vikings from DDE is going to maybe be able to snipe that away. You could land them, obviously they are able to attack ground if you do that, but he might just use it to snipe off this medvac. Actually, this medvac's fully loaded with Blue Flame Hellions, and it doesn't look like RevDoctor's paying attention. He loses the fully loaded medvac. That is a huge loss at this point in the game. With supplies so close and this game so close at the moment, it's a huge to lose anything like that. Another Viking goes down for RevDoctor, who has actually lost a fair bit to these three Vikings. If he loses a Raven too, that could actually be huge, but Raven drops an auto turret and will be able to shoot a bit at these Vikings. The Raven's going to be forced to retreat. Unless, of course, I missed it. Oh, actually, it's still being kited around by the Vikings, and it does eventually get picked off at the end. That was huge, because now we would have to either build another starport with the tech lab or switch back over to build another Raven. That Raven is actually a very useful unit. Forgive my cynicism from before, it is quite useful. So both players are sitting now on two fully saturated bases. Supplies sitting fairly evenly, but DDE does seem to be in a commanding position. He is taking out every attempt to harass by RevDoctor, who has tried a medvac drop, and he's tried Blue Flame Hellions slide into the base, but DDE has managed to shut that down at every turn. He now appears to be going mech himself. We do see an armory and Blue Flame coming down for DDE, while RevDoctor simply sits back and tries to amass another mech army of his own. See medvacs coming out, so we should see other drops. It has to be drops because we see very little bio on the field for either player, actually. The command center being dropped for DDE, who will likely be taking a third with this. Unique to mention about this map, there are these little things off in the corner. 5 gold mineral patches and a rich Vestian geyser, which can actually, I don't know how the math actually all works out on that one, but they are equivalent to, at least equivalent to, normal base. These Hellions are going to move out and kill that Marine who was sitting on that warp gate. Job accomplished. They're going to move on to see an SCV coming over here to the gold base. I suspect they was maybe trying to build a command center and quickly shut that down. DDE is loving the use of his sensor towers in this series. This is the third one we've seen, 2 in the last game, first one from this game. Gives them very, very good map vision. It's basically a way to gain map control without actually having to move out too far. You can have well-placed sensor towers. They basically allow you to extend the vision from your base and be able to shut down any drops or harassment opportunities before they really even begin. It's going to shut down this Hellion at this red warp gate as well, being able to take full control of both Zelnaga towers as he wishes. This Hellion would probably do good to go a couple feet that way and take that tower, but that's beside the point. Besides the point, either way. Supplies are still fairly even. We do see another command center going down for RevDoctor, This one completed by sixjaxDDE. He has yet to lift it off, although we do see another one being constructed down here at this unique little gold base. This one might just be used as defense as a planetary fortress or as a macro orbital, or it could just be lifted off and taken as a normal base. So you see a fully loaded medvac, again coming over with Blue Flame Hellions, this time with Viking support. Shoot down any Vikings that might be able to intercept it. Don't know what the map vision of DDE is. You can see if he actually spots this at all. I just spot a little contingent going over here, and he does manage to spot the fact that this drop is incoming. So we will be able to hopefully get into position and kill it. We might see a couple of Hellions dropped here. Maybe take out this SCV who did cancel the construction of that command center to realize that it was scouted by RevDoctor. RevDoctor, who's taken this advantage, has taken advantage of this situation where RevDoctor's forces were away and is currently getting into a very good position. He'll be able to siege up and slowly advance that take line. Blue Flame Hellions are going to attack each other, but DDEs are slightly greater in number and will move in. Siege tanks are sieged up and they might be able to blast on this force. Actually, they'll be able to blast on this command center until it's lifted. There we go. Perfect. DDE is actually in a very good position here. He has positional advantage. RevDoctor is basically being contained by these tanks, and he doesn't want to move into that line. That is a very, very poor decision. I don't know if he'll be able to actually break this contain. This is actually going to be quite close. This medvac's going to have to unload the Hellions and try and pick off the SCVs that are repairing. It looks like RevDoctor is going to be managed to break through this contain. DDE losing actually a fair bit in that engagement. That contained obviously didn't have enough units in it. Some Vikings are going to snipe off some Vikings and some medvacs. RevDoctor's SCVs are going to go back home a happy bunch of workers. DDE still has considerable map presence though with these Vikings and these Hellions, able to mobilize quite quickly. One tank on the tower is quickly taken out by these unsieged tanks at RevDoctor, who is moving his command center down here to take his third base. DDE now does have his planetary fortress up at his third base, so both will be mining equally quite soon. Although RevDoctor is sitting in a decent position, he is behind in supply, but he did manage to win that engagement, which is quite nice. Blue Flame Hellions running in here into the expansion will roast some SCVs. Actually, that is a fairly significant loss. He didn't want to line those up for the Hellions. Actually, he managed to kill almost every single worker before these Thors managed to get into position. Huge losses for RevDoctor in terms of the worker count. We're going to check and see exactly how many workers were killed. 27 by DDE, only 6 by RevDoctor over the course of this game. Huge disparity there. He needs to try and do better to protect his workers. Well, we do see a very scary force from RevDoctor coming out here. Tanks, Hellions, and Thors are quite powerful, actually, although this Viking count is getting quite high. Give vision to the siege tanks, though I don't believe that RevDoctor has a lot of air for those Vikings to shoot at, so they might have to be landed and do some damage that way. Scans going down all over the place, trying to figure out where everybody is. And this does look like it could be a very crucial confrontation in this match, as tanks are sieged up at DDE's third base for DDE, and RevDoctor is forced to pull back and maybe try and circumvent the force, but there's a well-placed siege tank here, blasting away some Hellions, which actually will be able to take it out. Oh, there we go, take it out. Vikings are landed by DDE, trying to maybe give a bit of additional DPS here, but RevDoctor is simply going to back up. He is still behind in supply, but he does have a very, very fearsome army. He does need to try and saturate this base, actually, considering how many workers he lost. He needs to be continuing to build SCVs, which does appear he is. Planetary Fortress is still keeping guard over here. SCVs are building supply depots like mad, trying to make sure we don't get supply blocked, is what DVE is thinking. Force is still moving around here, trying to get in position to attack, but these Hellions are doing a very good job of keeping them at bay, as well as the siege tanks that are sieged up in the bases of sixjaxDDE. Hellions are going to move out and try and get around this this force of RevDoctor, maybe try and do a bit of cute harass at the third base for RevDoctor. You see RevDoctor's forces kind of moving around the middle, trying to decide exactly where they can break through. While we see his Hellions move across here, and they'll actually be able to roast a lot of SCVs if he doesn't pull them in time. It does look like he's going to be unable, and here we come. There we go. Look at all those workers killed. That's something that RevDoctor's actually done a very poor job of in this game. He's unable to keep his workers alive. Pulls the whole force back, trying to make sure that these Hellions die, but they're going to continue to kill SCVs until he kills every single last Hellion. DDE's harass has been incredibly effective. We're going to check and see exactly how many workers he's killed. 58 SCVs killed to only the 6 of RevDoctor, who hasn't been able to get any effective harass in this game. He does need to try and rebuild those workers as fast as he can, but his supply is quickly dwindling, although most of his supply is an army as a result of these SCVs being killed. Check out the units station. We only have 24 SCVs as opposed to 75 for DDE. Huge disparity there. Although we do still have a fairly fearsome army from RevDoctor, comprised of Thors and Marines, or Thors and tanks and Hellions, although not upgraded yet. See if we have any upgrades going on for DDE, who is at 2-0. RevDoctor has yet to get those upgrades. That could actually play a very, very crucial role. DDE, I do recall, got that quick armory. Was able to get those upgrades out fairly fast. We do see siege tanks sieging up far away and going to blast away at this planetary fortress and these SCVs who are pulled and are going to run back to safety. Planetary fortress does not have the range to kill these tanks, so it might just be blasted on from afar. You see two Hellions moving down here, trying to kill any additional SCVs, but they'll be cut off quickly by the Thor and the tank. While these tanks continue to rain down damage as the SCVs are about to repair and go back to mining, but that's not very smart. They're actually going to get killed if they do that. Mass repair going on the planetary fortress here. He needs to find something to kill these tanks, otherwise he's just going to drop tons of minerals into repairing a constantly suffering planetary fortress. This army from sixjaxDDE is looking quite fearsome. Significantly bigger than RevDoctor's army. Sadly, through the result of killing all those SCVs, he was able to severely hamper the macro of RevDoctor, and has allowed that to translate into a greater army for him in the late game. Hellions moving in, trying to kill the repairing SCVs before the planetary fortress. Decides it's going to blast away those Hellions. Army moves into position for DDE. This could be actually a final confrontation. The army for RevDoctor is not nearly big enough to contend with all these tanks and Thors, as the tanks actually are doing a very good job sieging up back here and doing tons of damage, but the upgrades for DDE are actually maybe just too much. They'll overwhelm this force fairly handily. Supplies are in very poor favor for RevDoctor, and he throws out the GG, realizing that after his army was completely lost, he was basically done with this game. So we do see sixjaxDDE win this series 2-0. Again, this is last player standing, StarCraft 2 Open number 2, and this is one of the round of 32 best of 3s. Hope you guys enjoy your cast, and we will put up some more for you guys to watch of other series that are currently going on. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.